Greetings, Mason Storm here. On today's episode, we're going to be making some beef cabbage stew. I really enjoyed this recipe. Thought it was great. Probably one of the best soups I've had all year. So let's get started. I've got a couple tablespoons of olive oil, onion, garlic, celery, carrots, all cubed, beef broth. I've got a box of it, but I'm just displaying a little here. Cabbage that I shaved, and some beef. This is just a roast that I hacked to pieces. Stewing beef can also work great, but when you use the stewing technique, anything becomes tender. So we get the old pot on the stove. We're gonna start out hot. And what we're going to do is we're gonna sear our meat. So toss in the oil, give it a few minutes to get all warmed up. Dump the meat in, stir for a few minutes till you get a little bit of browning, a little bit of crisp on everything. So from here, we're just going to keep cooking it. Maybe give it some seasoning. I find that a little bit of salt and pepper at this stage can really go a long way to enhancing the taste of your stewed meat before our stewing process. And once your meat's all brown, we'll move on to the next step. And there's kind of two methods for the next step. There's the lazy way and the proper way. The proper way is to drain the meat and then add broth to it. And the lazy way is just to add the broth. And I opted for the lazy method because I find it works good and tastes great, and it saves you some time. So we just add in our broth. We want to make sure that our meat is all covered, and then we're going to lower the temperature. So we get a little bit of almost like a light simmer, and we're just going to stew the beef for a couple hours. 2 hours is what I'm going to do, and that really softens it up and makes it super tender for making the rest of our stew. One of the negatives to the lazy method is you get a little bit of that scumminess on the top of your stewed beef. It kind of goes away once you cook your soup, but that's another reason why you might want to drain it. So now we're going to add in our vegetables and cook it for another 45 minutes or so. Some people like to do their onions in with the beef to begin with, and that can be really good, especially if you get a little bit of a caramelized onion going on. That can be really good in your stew. It also may look like there's a lot of stuff going in here, but it's all going to shrink down as it cooks. And the other thing is that if it really is too dry, just add a little bit more soup stock to it. Just bring everything back up. Of course, if you're out of stock like I was, a little bit of water works great as well. And just keep cooking it down, and here we are in the future. Now you want to taste your vegetables and see if they're at the proper level of tenderness. If they're not tender enough, cook it longer. If they're mush, get her off the heat. Now, I'm a big fan of late game seasoning, so I throw on my pepper and salt and whatnot right near the end, right before I'm going to consume it. So I kind of throw some in, mix it in, try it, see what it is, and go from there. But if you want to really enhance your stew, what you want to do is add some good old herbs. For this particular stew, I decided it was rosemary thyme. So rosemary and thyme. Just a little bit there, and it really, really brings the stew to life. Just adds so much depth. Doesn't take a lot. I think I have about a teaspoon of each. And we just dried the stuff last year, so it's somewhat fresh, I guess. Maybe not, but it's good stuff. And then you're free to serve. So that's how I like to make my stew. I think it's quite great. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are. And if you like my content, please like and subscribe. And until next time, stay awesome.